As you may or may not know, this is Jordan Ahisi. But before we get into the show, I wanted to give a quick disclaimer. We were having some audio mess ups and issues. Unfortunately, there may be some fuzz or some clipping. So please, 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 please adjust your headphones accordingly. We don't want your ears blown out. And let's get into the show. Welcome to another episode of Culture 316. I am one of your hosts, Jordan Nahisi.
Yeah, you got Edge's Throat Goat Mo. What is up, people?
So, first of all, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. We have a lot to talk about today, but two things to make you guys aware of. Number one, be sure to follow us on TikTok, Culture 316 Pod, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. We have a lot of dope content coming your way. And with that said, let's get right into the show. So, first things first, before we get into this wrestling verse, um, a special someone had a very crazy fire Naomi inspired photo shoot, which got liked and retweeted and recognized by the Queen Naomi herself. I'm talking about my co-host Mo, and I just wanted to shout her out and also to kind of give her this platform. I wanted to know, like, what was your mindset going into this endeavor? Um, and like, how do you feel about the reception and the feedback that you've gotten thus far? Tell the people about what you were doing and what have you been able to do, because I think it's incredibly special.
Yeah, no, totally. This we definitely had addressed, what had went on with Sasha and Naomi's walkout, the causes of it, and what it meant to us on this platform. And how I do feel like even with the events happening, I noticed some funky, some questionable, suspicious shit that was going on with even this like the reception of the walkout and how either or Sasha and Naomi was being treated.
Mm.
So it was bothering me. I was very vocal about it. I was just like, something about this just seems so off. It comes off like a lot of the love and a lot of the anger and a lot of the frustration was more so focused on one of the talents out of the two. And it just seemed as if they were just stitching a Naomi along because she is paired with, a very beloved and fantastic talent that is Sasha, but I noticed and I called it that Naomi was receiving a lot of fake love.
Mm.
And surely enough, when they had their meet and greet at the convention and we got all those fan photos, I was scrolling all day for 24 hours looking through fan photos. About 98% of them were just with Sasha.
Mm.
I saw at most two, maybe three Naomi posts on Twitter.
Mm.
I dug around on Instagram, hardly found any. And I'm just like, you guys are just confirming my point.
Yeah.
You guys are confirming my point. There's nothing wrong with loving Sasha. I adore Sasha. I support the whole Holy Trinity. Everyone knows about that. Everyone
Right.
knows about that. But I as much as I love Sasha, I love Bianca, I love Naomi. And I always felt like in this company, she's a driving force. She is a history maker. She's a legend in her own right. She's so talented. She's so beautiful. She's an amazing person with this wonderful heart, and she has so much to offer. And she's given us with as much restrictions as she has had been given in this company. She has given us her all.
Absolutely.
Like she is an inspiration not only just to me, but to every other black man, black woman, child watching, because a lot of us didn't have that growing up.
Hmm.
Yes, we had Jackie, we had Jazz, but you see how WWE is, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to black women. They don't like
Yeah.
really giving them camera time. They love their blondes. They love their bimbo blondes, you know? And we've been blessed to have Naomi in this era. And I still don't think she gets appreciated for all she's given to us. So I was frustrated throughout this whole time period of her not being here. And I was thinking about it, bro. I was thinking about it while I was at work pacing around. I'm just like, I want to do something. Like, I want to show her, because I know she pays attention to what the fans say.
Hmm.
I want to show her my love and my appreciation and my passion towards her and for what she's done for me as a fan, the way I feel when I see her, you know? Like she has this very intriguing gimmick that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people look at the glow gimmick and they just think about just just a stereotype like, oh, she's black, of course she's gonna dance. And it's more than that. There's layers to this glow gimmick. And the she came up with the glow gimmick in the midst of her going through a low or a depression in her career.
Mm.
Um and what the glow was basically was supposed to represent for her is find that love and that drive in yourself and loving who you are and expressing it through positive affirmation. It's not just about the way you look, because you know a lot of people like to think of like the glow up. No, 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 no. It's a matter of just of a mindset. It's a state of mind. It's what you
Right.
surround yourself with, and it's what you ingest and what you take in, you know. And what I love about what she does with the glow gimmick is that she incorporates a lot of her Afro roots. You know what I mean? She always changes her hair up. She'll do the fro for us. She may do some box braids. She may or may have done like locks on TV. I know she's done it off screen or whatnot. You know, she's very bright, very fluorescent.
Mm.
We all know that Naomi's a fantastic dancer. I mean, similar to me, she grew up doing tap, jazz, hip hop, ballet. Hence my flexibility. If you guys see any of the pictures or whatnot, she incorporates all that. She's very unapologetic about her African roots. I just love, 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 love everything about what she brings to the table in terms of her entrance. Like to me, I think she has like one of the best entrances in WWE history.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
she does. It feels like every time she comes out, it's a WrestleMania moment, bro.
Yeah.
It does. You know. So I love what she's done for us, and I feel like she should have more accolades on her record. But I know is that it's due to the laws of colorism that she's constantly being held back. And you know, they threw her a bone here and there with allowing her to be on Total Divas or allowing her to be the first SmackDown Women's Champion. That was of course was black. Sorry, not the first SmackDown Women's Champion, but the first one that was African American. But that was after 6 years. That was after
Yeah.
6 years they gave that to her, which I thought was just frustrating to me. You know, it's like great, I'm so happy, but it's just like you know she just got that one thing, and of course she got the tag team title belts now, but you know they're vacated and now given to Damage Control. Um, you know, uh, I'm frustrated. I was very much frustrated, and when I was going into this shoot, I just wanted to not make it about looking attractive and looking beautiful and just doing a cosplay. I wanted to incorporate everything that Naomi gives to us as fans and incorporate it into the picture. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like she's super athletic. She's an amazing dancer, super talented. I'm not, of course, as agile as her. Otherwise, I probably would have been jumping off shit too. But but the entire time I was so I felt literally the glow the entire time I was doing it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was kind of like emulating her, you know, and the photographers and everyone was like saying like you're bringing your A game today, and it's just like honestly it's because like I want to make her proud. Like
Mm.
I want her to see this, and I was very surprised when she did see this. Like I actually cried because I was in the middle of the nail salon, bro, and I look up at my phone and I have my notifications filtered. So I don't just get every person's notification. I only get like significant ones that pop up for Twitter at least. When I saw her name, I thought it was bullshit. I thought it was like one of those scam accounts that, you know, they put up a picture and they put the same name and all that stuff like that. I saw that. I saw she quote tweeted it and commented and shared it. And then the follow part, I started crying in the nail salon. The lady's holding my hand like this. And she's just like, ma'am, are you okay? I'm just like, no, I'm great. I'm doing fine. I can't explain it to you, but I'm happy. It's great. It's all great. I literally was sobbing like when she saw it because like I want her to understand that she's loved because she gets called so many foul names, bro,
Mm.
on the internet. People are constantly downplaying her. I do feel like when it comes to black women in this industry, they had to work twice, maybe triple times as hard to
Mhm.
get anyone's attention and get anywhere in this company. Like, it frustrates me that someone as basic as like Alexa Bliss or Carmella or fucking Tiffany Stratton, all they have to do is show up and look pretty and blonde and do a few basic moves or maybe do one little flip or something, and everyone eats it up. Stan accounts everywhere. But I feel
Mhm.
like when it comes to black women, they have to go above and beyond and work like quadruple times as hard for anyone to give a shit. And even then, so you open up the internet and someone's calling them a fucking monkey or a gorilla, or as someone said on our show before
A
when they put
pickup
Sasha
truck.
next to Naomi. What they say,
God.
Jordan? What they
Uh,
say?
they said why would you something about a pickup truck? Essentially calling Naomi a pickup truck. Um, I don't
A
remember
Ferrari next to a pickup truck.
a Ferrari next to a pickup
Mhm.
truck. So you're calling a dark skinned woman a pickup truck. So
Yep,
you know.
yep, yep. Does I'm sorry I'm going off for it
You're
for a
fine.
long time, but when I like saw that and she acknowledged it, like that's all I wanted. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about looking pretty. It wasn't about looking attractive. I wanted there to be an art. I wanted everyone to see the art and what the way I envisioned Naomi in my head. That's what I wanted to bring to the shoot. Like, I
Mm,
really wanted to just, like, bring the glow and the amazingness, the awesomeness, just I wanted to just bring every little aspect about Naomi out in the shoot, and that's what I wanted, and the fact that she was so positive about it just, like, brought me to tears, and I was just shaking.
mm.
I was just shaking because like, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect all that, you know? I just hope that if she is listening to this out there, just thank you, Naomi, for everything that you done for us. Okay,
Mm,
why do I feel like I'm about to cry? Um, just thank you for everything that you ever done for us, that you done for this sport, that you done for people that look like me, that look like you. Thank you for making us proud and making us feel empowered, because I feel like every time I see someone like you on screen making it and just unapologetically being you at all times and standing your ground, just it gives us it, it gives us some inkling of like, all right, like things can be different.
mm.
Things can be different. So just thank you so much. Just thank you. Like, I feel empowered.
I ain't even gonna say much after that because, like, what has to be said after that? I think that you kind of hit every point. And while you may have been surprised when you told the group chat that you were doing this, I was like, yeah, this gonna go up. So I'm not surprised, and I'm proud of you. But moving on, Dynamite Grand Slam took place on Wednesday, September 21st at Arthur Ashe Stadium. It was billed as the biggest AEW Dynamite of the year. So I wanted to know what were some standout moments to you of that show, and how would you rate that show out of 5 stars?
Geez, me personally, okay, considering the fuckery that Tony Khan had to go through and then having to rewrite the show, because I'm pretty sure he had a totally different layout for Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would give it, if it was out of 5 stars, maybe a 4 or 4.5 out of
Mm-hmm.
5. It wasn't a perfect show, but if you really are like looking at what it should have been and then what he gave us, but not just between the matches, but like the little surprises that came up or the segments that were in between, the show like didn't have not one dull moment. It was super fun the entire time. I thought all the match placements were in the most perfect spot. The surprises were in a perfect spot. I was in attendance last year for Grand Slam. Do I think it was better than that show? No. And that's just my humble opinion. However, off a short notice, which you had to put together in like what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Damn good show. And I'm very impressed with you, Tony. I'm gonna call you Tony today, not Cokehead. Okay? Because I'm actually very satisfied and very no, I'm very proud of him. And we're gonna get into why I'm also proud of him later
Yeah,
on when we talk about some other news.
right.
But I thought it was a damn good show. Match of the night for me, bro, had to have been the tag team match. And I knew it was gonna
Mm,
be. I
yeah,
knew it was gonna be. Right? Like, it should have been the match of the night for AEW All Out, but Punk fucked that up and no one was talking about it. So I'm very happy that he gave him the floor. But more importantly, I'm happy that he let the Long Island boys represent.
yeah,
Very happy he let them represent.
yeah, for
And
sure.
I'm not even a fan of the Acclaim. But in that match, I became a fan of the Acclaimed. Like, I totally see what you guys see right now. That match from top to bottom, left to right was just it was just amazing. And you could definitely see that it kind of hit them a little delayed. That like, oh shit, yeah, we finally got the belts. And I think it was the first time that me personally, I actually cared for the tag belts because for me, I feel like they give it to some people, and in the moment when they win, it's fun for that moment. I'm excited for them in that moment, but then it kind of gets a little bit boring. The storylines kind of fall flat for me. But this
Yeah.
was actually like the perfect team, the perfect way, and I love seeing homegrown talent. So again, like kudos to you, Tony Khan. Like that was a great dynamite
Mm.
or special a dynamite. What do you think?
I kind of agree with you. I would give it a 4.7 or a 4.8. Um, and I think that a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Tony Khan and his leadership, I think I said something along the lines of this is going to be the ultimate test of his leadership as it pertains to him being the head of creative of AEW and him being the CEO because he has that power to set the tone, and he did. I think that this was a statement show, and I'm going to get and touch on it a little bit later as we unveil more news. But considering that he had essentially 3 weeks to put together a tournament that he made to feel important, that he did a rematch of a show that was on a pay per view that felt important. Not only that, but like the AEW hip hop crossover references, Fab coming out with Swerve and Keith, DJ Who Kid coming out with the Acclaim. It felt like he cared about the New York crowd and he cared about the New York audience. And there were just some incredible moments in that show. And I mean, for something that was the backup plan, it doesn't hurt to have John Moxley and Bryan Danielson as your main event. That's not a bad backup plan. You know what I mean? And I think that they definitely delivered. As far as moment of the night, while I loved the Acclaim winning the tag titles, in retrospect, I think that my moment of the night was Jericho winning the Ring of Honor World title. And at first I was like, what? Like, why would
Really?
he? Why would he? Why would they do that? Why would they put the belt on him? And then it registered. Chris Jericho is the Ring of Honor World Champion. Last time that man had a world championship, didn't they announce like some type of TV deal with AEW? Wasn't he the first AEW champion of the TNT era? So I'm suspecting, I'm like, what does this mean for the Ring of Honor brand? The fact that you have a guy like Chris Jericho hold the belt, obviously it gives you the creative flexibility, like we talked about, kind of like him possibly dropping it to Daniel Garcia. That sets that up. But I'm thinking, all right, Chris has the Ring of Honor belt. Daniel has the pure title belt. Um, FTR has the tag belt. I'm starting to suspect that there may be a little bit more to that decision than what meets the eye, because it's like you don't put those belts on those people unless you have a plan. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's the reason why for me it probably was the as far as matches, just put it like that. As far as matches, it was the moment of the night for me. Um, did I was gonna say, did you have anything else that you want to build on top of that? Because we can move on because that this is only the tip of the iceberg, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, everything was good. Like I really love the inside, the in between segments, or just
Mm,
again the surprises. I mean, Paige popping up on like short notice, 'cause, like the report literally came out like 48 hours earlier or
right.
something for Paige. I was surprised that they put her in right away. That was pretty cool. Um, MJF's MJF ripped this poor man. What's his name again?
Wheeler,
The guy that he tore apart.
wheels. I'm calling him Wheels.
Oh my
After
god, I
that,
felt so bad for him.
bro was setting this
Jesus
man on
Christ, he
fire.
tore that man apart. And that segment was like 5 minutes, but it was like the best 5 minutes I ever seen. Like, don't get me wrong, MJF is always on point when it comes
Right.
to him being a heel and flaming people. But yo, like
He was wilding
that
for
was
no
crazy.
reason. He was
I
wilding
was
for no
like, that's
reason.
all I did. Like, what did he do? He slapped his mom or something? Like, what did he do?
That
What
boy,
is
when
he
that
coming
boy
at this
said,
man's neck for?
I literally was just like, God, this man said that you went from, what was it, like, I forgot the personality comment, but yeah, MJF was
There was
lighting
a
him
quote he
up.
said that had me crying.
MJF
Oh
was
my
lighting that
god.
boy up for no reason. But
But no, I'm like, go ahead, go ahead. I'm
but
sorry.
I was gonna say, speaking of Paige, we can go into the next. Speaking of Paige, as we kind of referred to a little bit earlier, Saraya, the woman formerly known as Paige, is officially signed to All Elite Wrestling. She made her debut last night at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. After the interim World Women's Championship match, there was a segment in which Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Reba all united to kind of go against Athena, Tony Storm, and I believe no, it was Serena Deeb, Jamie Hayter, Tony Storm, and Reba going against Athena and Tony. Yeah, Athena and Tony Storm. Like they were just beating them up, and then Saraya came out to a huge pop in New York. As Mo said, like the report kind of came out like 48 hours earlier that she had been talking to them over the summer. But that was all that we knew. So I want to know, how do you feel about Soraya slash Paige being in AEW, and who are some people that you want to see her face?
Okay. Well, one, I'm actually happy that she's back and she's doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping she's a talent. I do not want to see her in a backstage role. I know a lot of people liked her in a backstage role. It's not that I disliked it. It's just that she has a lot of personality. She's a great wrestler and she's very young. I understand that she has a very sensitive neck injury, but I mean, if she's been cleared for action and they have the right people, checking in on her and telling her, maybe there's a different way she could go about taking on bumps and stuff like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally behind her wrestling. I do feel like AEW's women's division is talented, but it could use a little bit more personality, and that's what Paige kind of brings to the table. I mean, I think a lot of people loved her in WWE because she was the black sheep, she was the odd one out. Especially around that time they paired her with AJ Lee. Like
Mm-hmm.
people gravitate towards relatability.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that she's back. In terms of people that I would like to see her mix it up with, I mean, of course, yeah, with Tony Storm, that's going to be a banger. Duh.
Right.
Um, I guess people like Jamie Hayter to have someone to work with. Thunder Rosa too, but I pray to God Thunder Rosa is not as stiff with Paige because I would hate to see her have to end her career early on again. Trying to think about other people. Oh, Serena Deebs, she would put on a really good match with Serena. First of all, bro, can we just backtrack for a little bit? She like I know that Tony Storm is our champion. And I should have 100% of my focus on her, but my eyes were just zeroed in on Serena last night
Absolutely.
because like she made the best of what the fuck she could out of a Fatal 4 Way. Oh my god. She is so talented. Like every time I see her in the ring, I'm like, please make her champion. Please make her champion. Like I want to see her next because she's so freaking good. Like I see why she was
Right.
a coach. But yeah, no, totally love to see that. Mixing it up with Jade, I feel like she could probably give Jade her best match. My personal opinion. Um, and actually, I wouldn't be mad if she was the person that took the belt off of Jade because I don't think she
Hmm.
has anyone else to really go through.
Right.
Like, I don't think anyone else would be like worthy of that position. And I mean, we haven't seen Paige with a belt in God knows how long. So I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they want to have a long feud played out with her and Jade and have her eventually take it off. How about you?
I so for starters, I think that it's great that she's in AEW. As you kind of said, she is extremely talented. I think that I would love to see her in the ring, but the beautiful part about Paige is her versatility, and I think that she has a future beyond her in-ring career in AEW, um, because there's a lot of women in that locker room who can benefit greatly from the services of Paige. And so, like, even when I think about her time with Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, and I think that they had a nice little faction going, and I think that Paige benefited both of them greatly. I think about Paige's time with uh, Kyrie Sane and Asuka and how it benefited them greatly. And so we kind of see Paige. I want to see Paige in the ring, but if she were to be a manager again, I wouldn't be mad because I feel like there are a lot of great in ring talents that all they need is a legitimate mouthpiece. Um, Athena being one of them, Jesus Christ. Thunder Rosa being another one, Jesus Christ. But as far as the women that I would like to see her in the ring with, Paige versus Jade is on the top of my list. Um, Paige versus, well, not Paige, Saraya. Jesus, I'm blanking out on names. Saraya versus Jade would be on my list.
I'm gonna
Saraya
keep saying
versus
Paige. I'm sorry.
Jamie Hayter, I think, is another one on my list. Saraya versus Britt Baker, I think, would be a great match as well. I know you don't like Mid Baker. It's okay. I think that would be a good match.
She ruined the
Um,
match for me.
I personally think that Saraya can put on a good match with anyone. If she could put on one with the Bellas, I
Mhm.
think that she can put on one with Britt Baker. Um, but I think that there's a lot of people that she can mix it up with, and I'm very, very interested in seeing kind of where they go with her and where they kind of go from here. But shout out to Saraya because I I had no idea that that was gonna happen. I remember tweeting out a little bit before she actually walked out. I noticed when they were doing the segment of like Serena and them beating up Tony and all those girls. Like I noticed the cameras were on the ramp, and I was like, "Yo, pay attention to the ramp! Pay attention to the ramp! Somebody's coming!" And then lo and behold, Soraya came. So I'm really really excited to see what they do with her. But I was gonna say, did you have anything else to add or?
Um, well, I do 100% agree with your comment with Athena and Thunder Rosa. It's kind of a shame that she didn't come any sooner before
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa had to, drop her belt because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like she definitely could have benefited with her reign, even if she did came in towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
So totally agree with that part. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Do you think that she was meant to come in for Grand Slam, or was she specially called in earlier because of everything that had happened 3 weeks ago?
I think that regardless of what happened 3 weeks ago, I think that that was part of the plan. Because I don't think that Soraya had anything to do with the backstage incident that occurred. I think that, based on the report that we had seen from Fightful about them having conversations over the summer, you assume that they were talking in July, talking in August before all this went down. And I think that this was something that had been in the works for a little bit. I think that she kind of just wanted to wait and fall back a little bit to bring it to fruition just because if you're going to bring out someone like Saraya, who is essentially the cornerstone of the women's revolution, as WWE would like to brand it, you don't just want to make that happen at any show. You want to make that happen at the biggest show on one of the biggest stages. I honestly felt like the only other place that possibly could have happened was All Out, but like based on everything that happened after All Out, it was like, do you want that overshadowed by that backstage fallout? So I think that she was called in specifically for Grand Slam, but I think that it would have happened either way, regardless of that backstage incident that happened. What about you?
I just like when I was watching the show, I was thinking, wow, like 20Con's really working like overtime with all these like surprises in between the
Yep.
matches. So it made me think personally he wants to distract us with a lot more positive things, which I'm not mad
Mm,
about it.
right.
I'm not. Just that she kind of came out right after the women's match and she just popped up, didn't really say anything. She just kind of hit a pose. So it's just like, all right, like what is she doing? Like we don't know yet what is she doing? Because when Ruby came out, I feel like Ruby kind of like made a marking of what she wants to do. When
Mm-hmm.
when it was her time to pop out for All Out. So I felt like she was just kind of randomly plugged in with no other direction, but like, hey, bitches, I'm here. I'm gonna be part of wrestling again. And then she just checked out. So it came off to me like that was the only thing that was a little bit random.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not upset about it. It doesn't made me think that it was a little bit more strategic of just plugging her in now because I would have waited till Full Gear, but that's just me.
Here's what I was thinking about. Because one of the things that I was noticing while Soraya was coming back, the reactions on the faces of everyone. Because when you're in that predicament, it's normal, and people are getting beat up, and you come in and you interject. It's like obviously somebody's gonna pop out and like beat somebody up and get their lick back. I don't think anybody was expecting that. I don't think Britt was expecting that. I don't think that because like you looked at them and they were just like what do
Oh yeah,
we?
they were shook.
They were shook. They were just like, what are we? Because it's four of them. They could have easily turned that into a whole. I'll just punch you, punch you, punch you, punch you. But they were really looking back like,
Like we're not doing this again.
we don't,
Yeah.
we didn't know. Like I feel like they didn't expect that. And I think that that was the magic of it because it allowed Paige to have her moment in the middle of the ring in New York, and that matters. I think that that matters. Um, But with the entrance of one person comes the exit of another one. And that leads us into the news that we found out this morning, hours before the show, which is that CM Punk is apparently out of all elite wrestling. And he apparently they are seeking out a buyout of his contract, and CM Punk has wrestled his last match. So number one, I want to know your impressions, and I'm throwing a little wrench in there. What does this mean? What does this mean for CM Punk's legacy? Uh, about this, do you think Tony did the right thing? But more importantly, what do you think that this does to the legacy of CM Punk?
I mean, it makes Tony Khan finally look like a goddamn boss again. I had to applaud him for that one because I had no faith in him trying to turn this over and get his shit together in terms of just like putting his foot down with people. So it's like to a point that with Tony Khan's just like, all right, like you showed me that you're a fucking liability to my company. You know, like you almost ruined my next big show of the year. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep having you do this. I gave you everything you wanted. I invested into you. I poured into your cup. I slapped the belt on you, and this is the shit that you handed me, bro. This is the shit
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna hand to me, and this is how you're gonna make my company look, and this is how you're gonna anger my talent and trigger my talent. All right, like I gotta tighten up. So you know what? Shout out to him, and I'm gonna say shout out to Chris Jericho, even though I have some words with Chris Jericho, but we're gonna put that aside for today because it was in the reports that Chris Jericho did pull Tony Khan aside before he went into the room for his meeting. We don't know what was said exactly,
Mm-hmm.
but Chris Jericho has been in this game for a long time. A long, long time. He's seen it all. He's been in a lot of promotions or whatnot. He knows how a company should work. He knows how tension goes on in the business and stuff like that. And he's been a locker room leader. And he's basically like a leader in that company. A lot of people go to Chris Jericho for mentoring. You know, so shout out to Chris Jericho for saying where the fuck he said to Tony Khan to straighten him out because like it is like day and night. It's like day for
Mm-hmm.
him to make that decision because like everyone fans and him. I know that Tony Khan's a fan just like us. Everyone wanted to see Punk. Everyone was ready to see him shock the culture of wrestling. Everyone was trying to see a new era be reborn with him and just with his actions I don't blame him. On top of him, being made of glass and getting injured again, it's just like, all right, like, what can we really do with you, bro?
Right.
What are we going to do with you? So, good for him. Good for him because I think Punk's ego is way up there, and I feel like he probably isn't a bad person, but he got a lot of insecurities, and it shows. It shows because everything that he said he didn't want to be, he basically became. He's a bitter old man.
Mm-hmm.
Can't work with the young boys. Can't hang with the young boys. And everything's a problem. You gotten everything that you wanted that you complained about in WWE handed to you in AEW on a silver platter, and then look at the shit that you're pulling, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for Tony as far as Punk goes. I mean, I wouldn't want to see this for him. I really like. I wish they would have given a little bit more time so he could come back from his injury, think about what he's done, take his punishment, and then maybe come back and cut a promo with a little bit of subliminals, somewhat apologizing for his actions
Mm-hmm.
and saying like, hey, I'm going to be a better person moving forward because it's not about me. It's about the company. I'm a player on this team. We are a family. We need to
Mm-hmm.
work together. We gotta like each other, but we gotta work with each other and work properly.
Right.
So I feel bad. Actually I don't feel bad for him. I feel bad for Tony. But as far as his legacy goes, I mean he kind of buried himself. He really buried himself. And I didn't think that was possible. I never thought I would see the day, considering all the shit that he's talked about WWE, the way he came in with the company, cutting all these promos about all the stuff that he's been through and stuff that he promises that he can and will do. It's crazy to see how much a year could change because, bro, again, I was live in attendance at Grand Slam, and we New York love was giving a lot of love to CM Punk. We was singing that theme song, and he came out like 3 times because we were there for the recording of Rampage too. Every time he came out, we all stood up, clapping, singing his song or whatnot. We was here because we wanted to see him win, and we wanted to see what he could do for wrestling, man. And it's just
Mm,
like, whole year later, look where we're at. Like, you're not about to be with the company. It's a
right.
damn shame. It's
It
such
is.
a damn shame. I really hope that he straightens out whatever the fuck he got going on mentally. I don't think I think there's other things. There's other layers to what's maybe going on with him on a personal level, maybe back at home.
Mm,
Because there's no like logical reason for him to be acting like this.
mm.
Like it sounds childish, especially at his very grown age. So what do you think?
I think this number one, very proud of Tony Khan, as you said. Tony Khan pulled once again a Joe Tsai. For those who didn't watch the last episode, watch it. I essentially talked about how Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, kind of took a stance for the organization of the Brooklyn Nets this past offseason. I believe Tony Khan is doing the same. I think that moving forward, he is a more company centric guy than he is a star driven guy. And I think that this news kind of reinforces the theory that I had prior to the show, which was that this is a statement show. AEW Dynamite Grand Slam was a statement show. CM Punk wasn't there, Kenny wasn't there, the Bucks weren't there. Hangman Page is an active competitor, but he didn't even have as much as a backstage segment. And he's one of the guys this company was built on. And he did that very, very, in my opinion, I think that he did that on purpose. I think he was trying to make a statement and saying, this is my company, this is my show. Y'all are not gonna have y'all way around here. I'm putting my foot down. And if y'all don't like it, that's okay. Because I just put on the best show of the year without any of you. Without any of you. Kenny wasn't there. The Bucks, Punk. I did that. I did that on my own. I did that dolly. So I think that number one, I think that reinforces the fact that Dynamite Grand Slam was a statement show. I think that as it pertains to um, Tony Khan and Jericho, like you said, I think that Jericho does deserve a lot of credit. And may I suggest this? If the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were executive vice presidents, Chris Jericho should be an EVP of All Elite Wrestling. He is a more seasoned veteran. He is a more established legend. He has been in WCW. He's been in WWE. He's been in AEW, and because he was in WCW and WWE at some very, very vulnerable points in their history, he's been able to see the leadership mistakes of a guy like Eric Bischoff, of a guy like Vince McMahon. And if there's anybody that's going to stop Tony Khan from getting to that, it's Chris. It's Chris Jericho. And I think that there needs to be serious discussions of promoting Chris Jericho to an executive because he's their first champion. And during all this backstage debacle, fallout, whatever, the only person that's been able to keep a cool head, still evolve his character, and do the work and not have any complaints backstage is Chris Jericho. So I think that needs to be a serious consideration and a serious discussion. Um, as it pertains to CM Punk, I think you hit the nail right on the head. And I think that this conflict reveals that, number one, CM Punk was valuable because of his mystique, not his character. Because if you are taking someone from one company to another and they're causing problems on this level, and before this, everybody loved the vibe of AEW backstage. I don't, and once again, I don't know CM Punk. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I do, but you add a certain person to a certain dynamic, and it may not work as well as it used to. It may just because he rubbed certain people the wrong way, but it still is just like a bad aesthetic, right? Like putting him backstage, and all of a sudden there's this tension that leads to this catastrophic near company ending catastrophe, right? I think that Punk in this situation, like I think it revealed that his mystique was one of the things that kept him valuable in professional wrestling. The fact that he walked out on his own, the fact that there were so many unanswered questions, and I think that led fans to believe something about Punk that may or may not have been true. In the sense of like he was only he wasn't treated right in WWE, and he should have been, this big star. And I think he actually should have. But it's like, all right, let's give you everything you want. We put the belt on you twice. You held it for 6 days combined. Was that Vince's fault, or were you just injured? We put you in the main events. We put you in these big feuds. You've created moments. You've created great moments for the company. But if you're doing more bad than good, then what good is there? And I think that that's something that is all coming to the surface now in light of this. So I think this is not a good look for his legacy, bro. It's not. Going from being the best in the world to being the guy that is the bitter old head, as you said, is just not a good look for him. And I honestly hope but I do hope that he comes back to wrestling, because I do feel like he has unfinished business, and I do feel like he can elevate a lot of guys. But if he does come back to AEW or any wrestling company, I think it needs to look a lot different. No, you're not getting the belts. No, you're not getting the main events. You're going to be the second match on the card.
Put him in the mid cards.
You're going to be on Dark. Like, bro, you're going to be on Dark. Like what? Like, you don't come back here after doing all that and think you're gonna be the top guy. Nah, 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 nah. You you gotta be in the doghouse, bro. You can't just be out here. Like, you really gotta work your way back up. And yes, you're a legend and all this other stuff, but if you come back and we just give you everything that you wanted, and it would be disrespectful to the guys who have been faithful here. It would be disrespectful to the guys and girls that have put in the work and that are a pleasure to be around and do business with backstage. And so I think that, I think ultimately, I think it's going to resolve itself. It may come to a point where it's like they do a contract buyout for this contract, and then they renegotiate another contract and they sign him after his injury is up, and it's lower pay, whatever the case may be. But I think it'll resolve itself, and I think Punk will be back, because I think that Punk does have this love for wrestling, and I think that he does want to work with the younger guys. I think that there is a multitude of talent in AEW that he could work with, such as like a guy like Adam Cole, um, and I think that he's interested in that, and I think that he should come back. But bro, you got to take this L. You messed up, and Tony has every right to move the way that he moves. Um,
He still
but
got to wrestle for YouTube tips to earn his trust
dog,
back.
you
That's
gotta
crazy.
wrestle for that AEW Dark World Heavyweight Championship, known as the All Atlantic Championship. But like, I think that, yeah, like he needs to put in that work. He needs to be on YouTube. He needs to. You don't get TV time. You can get YouTube time. You can get Dark time. You can get Elevation time. But yeah, I think he needs to. I think he needs to have that chip on his shoulder. He needs to work his way back up to the top if he
I mean,
wants to return.
WWE is still there if he wants to go.
I don't think he's I think WWE will be willing to work with Punk. I don't think Punk will be willing to work with WWE, especially now, because he's going to be more bitter now than he was before, right? Like, especially with Hunter in charge. Like, I feel like he had more respect for Vince than he did for Hunter, and because of that, it's like he would rather go back to AEW as opposed to WWE. But
Probably, but I feel like, WWE might just eat up the promos he would cut if he wanted to
absolutely,
just vent about AEW a little bit. I feel like they would,
absolutely,
just because of that, whether he fucks with Hunter or not. If Hunter is just like, hey, take the mic, you're making magic, get me ratings. Punk
he's
would
going to pull
gladly
events.
vent on that mic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
For that money, they would run him a
Yeah.
crazy bag. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. But moving on from Punk to the guy who was supposed to wrestle at the next pay-per-view, Maxwell Jacob Friedman has signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling. He was able to go about it on a couple of podcasts. And he talked about the fact that he will still be a free agent in 2024, but this new deal that he has is worth more money than his previous deal. Now, with him signing this new deal, is he more likely to stay with AEW, or do you think that once his contract expires, he's going to go back to WWE? Well, not back to, but he's going to go
Yeah.
to WWE.
Nah, I get it. I get it. Honestly, I mean, he just wanted to be treated correctly to begin with, because one
Mm-hmm.
thing about Mr. Maxwell is he knows his worth. He's been in the entertainment business since he was a kid. Okay, like you gotta move differently. You gotta tread differently with these type of folks. Okay,
Right.
and that's all he wants. And I mean, if he's making his money and he's getting booked right, which as of right now, I mean, he's gonna get a lot of camera time, and I do foresee him definitely getting a belt. If not before the year ends, definitely kicking off the year. So I feel like if he's being treated correctly, probably, because AEW is still fairly new. It's only been like 3 years, so I can't really predict if he's, what's the state of this company going to be in the next couple of years. Because shit, we didn't even predict what was going to happen at, the 3 week ago mark was going to happen at all.
Right.
Like no one saw that coming. We
No
thought
one.
that, you know what I'm talking about. No one saw that coming, so I can't even like predict that far. I don't think it's fair enough for anyone to, but do I see him somewhere down the line going to WWE? Of course, because he's extremely young. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's about our age.
26.
Yeah, I think he's about our age. He's
Yeah.
very young. Yeah, like he literally could do whatever he wants to do. He could create a whole legacy here and just, raise his value more than it's already been in AEW, and then take that and pull a Cody and just boom, put me in a WrestleMania moment, bro. Like he really like got the best of both worlds because he hasn't
Mhm.
bad mouth really any other company so far. He's just been stern saying, "Hey, I am money. Like if you lose me, like that is literally your loss because wherever I go, I'm gonna like take that company and skyrocket it, bro. Like so." That's just what I think. How about you?
I think that MJF has the potential to be to All Elite Wrestling what AJ Styles was to TNA. He has the potential to be the guy that is synonymous with the company, and I think that he should. I think to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I think that Full Gear he's going to get the world title. I think that he's very much positioned to win the world title at Full Gear. I think that that should be the plan. I think that should be the way that they move because honestly speaking. And I think that Tony knows now that WWE will pick him up and pay him whatever he wants. Whatever he wants. Because just for the simple fact that they want to get one over on AEW, they'll pay him whatever he wants. And so I think that because of that, Tony is now in a position, especially with this whole Punk situation, um, he's going to run MJF whatever he wants. He's going to give MJF whatever he wants. Essentially, the treatment that Tony was giving to Punk, he's about to give to MJF because it's like it once again MJF what Punk was like pushing 50. MJF was half his age, which means that man could go for another 23 years. So it's like why not run him the bag? Why not treat him the way that he wants to be treated and compensate him accordingly? I think he's the most known and the most credible and the best one out of the four pillars. I think he's way better than Sammy. I think he's way more known and more of a star than
Yep.
Jungle Boy. I think that he
Mm-hmm.
is more charismatic than Darby.
Is
I
Jungle Boy
think
even a
he,
star?
huh? You said Jungle Boy even a
Is
star?
Jungle Boy really even a star?
I don't
Nah,
want to
I
talk.
mean, I saw a picture for the meet and greet where he had nobody at his
Oh
he had
no.
nobody at his
I didn't
table
want
at a
to
picture.
talk about that. I didn't. No, but like
Well,
I
I
mean
am.
but but like that but that reinforces the point. Like he's a bigger star than all of the four pillars with the elite gone. They don't really have a single cornerstone of the company right now. I mean, they're building up Blackpool Combat Club to kind of be that cornerstone, but as far as like single guys that are homegrown talent, like MJF is it, and I think that they're gonna run him that bag and they're gonna do what needs to be done. I think that he's gonna stay with WWE. He's gonna stay with AEW. I think that when the contract expires in 2024, they're gonna treat him so well and make him such an integral part of the AEW product that he's going to just be like, you know what, I'm cool here. He's going to have the flexibility, the creative freedom to do what he wants. He's going to have multiple world titles. He's going to be in the main event of multiple pay per views. I have no doubt that MJF is staying. So that's
He's gonna
my
be like a
opinion.
future Rock. Like
I, oh yeah, him.
you don't think that? He's like the Rock of our like generation. To be honest,
I think
like he will be. He will be
I think he's going to be a future Flair. He's going to be a future Ric Flair.
Flair.
Ric Flair.
What makes you say that?
I think that he's going to
Why?
be like from the way that he carries himself, his cadence, his promos, I think he's going to be like a modern day, like 10, 15 years from now, I think he has that potential to be like the multiple time world champion that's just a great storyteller and a great in-ring performer, but their distinguishing character is the fact that they're just so flamboyant. I feel like he's like going to be like Flair in that sense. I think the next Rock is going to be Ricky Starks. I think that's going to be the next Rock is Ricky because of his charisma and the way that he carries himself. And just down to the way that he dresses. Ricky is a very Rock inspired guy, and you can tell.
I think he
Um,
doesn't like the Rock comparisons. That's really funny that you said that.
right? That's I mean, but you can't help but to compare. Like I don't know, like and Ricky
No, I
obviously is.
see it.
I
He
see
did
it.
the face before too. Like he's not helping his case.
He's not helping his case. Really,
Yeah.
kid dog really looks like like he's heavily influenced by the Rock, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't. I think that I will say this. I think that based off of his importance to the company, I think he's going to be like what the Rock was to WWE. I think that MJF can be that to AEW. But I feel like in the way that he carries himself, it's leaning more towards Ric Flair than it does the Rock. Whereas Ricky Starks leans
Yeah.
more towards the Rock as far as how he carries himself. But what do you think? How do you think?
No, I just my personal opinion, I immediately got Rock vibes with MJF just because just he comes in with his own style, his own flair, just unapologetically himself. Everything he says is like a zinger or a line that sticks with the fans, which
Mm-hmm.
reminds me a lot of The Rock. You know what I mean? He got the facial expressions too, like The Rock. Like I'm not sure if he means to do it or not, but like he unintentionally be doing the eyebrow with the face.
Yeah.
um he's already had media or entertainment experience before this, so what's stopping other people from taking him since he's young and he's in shape, he looks decent enough, and putting him in commercials or putting him in movies and stuff like that? Like I feel like I do see him doing pro wrestling, but not making it something that he's gonna do until he's 50. I do see him probably cutting it off sooner than sooner than most, just because he's already gonna have a star-studded career before the age of 30. I
Right.
promise you that. Like, and it's gonna be to a point it's just like, all right, I did everything. What else do I really need to do?
Right.
Like he could afford to sit with the rate that he's going at. If he keeps it like this and keeps going up, he could afford to take a break and pull a John Cena or pull a Rock and go do movies and make other companies work on his own time and give him big payouts. So that's what I just foresee for him. Ric Flair, he's someone who's so passionate about wrestling that they're already in the reports talking about him having his second last match. Like,
How
yo,
many how many
I
more
think he's
final matches can you have, bro?
I don't know how he's still doing it. I don't know why he wants to do it because he has nothing left to prove.
Right. He
Like he
doesn't have
should have just
anything.
left it. Should just left it at Sean. Should have
That
left
would
it
have
at
been great,
Sean
but
and
now he
them,
had to
bro.
come back
Like
to TNA.
we were fine. We were fine with it. I cried. You cried. Everyone else cried. You went at us the goat, and now it's just like, oh, he's still going. Oh, like why doesn't Charlotte stop him?
I don't think that Charlotte wants
What?
to, but I was gonna say since you were on the topic of Mania, this is the perfect segue
Yeah.
because WWE is planning a WWE Hall of Fame induction for Vince McMahon doing WrestleMania weekend. Do you think that he should be in this year's WWE Hall of Fame class?
I wouldn't do it this year because he went out bad and
Mm,
embarrassing.
mm,
Like every news outlet knew. every every news outlet, even people who don't watch wrestling, know what's going on, and that's embarrassing because these are
mm.
people who stopped watching years ago.
Right,
And it's just like this is what Vince has been doing this entire time. Like I don't know. I feel like they should give it a grace period, you know, for people to not necessarily forget about it because people are not going to forget about it.
absolutely not.
But it's gonna be very easy to tear this man down. Like, I already foresee social media making their own video packages of all the terrible things he done. Because you know how the Hall of Fame already comes with a video package?
Right.
Social media is gonna string together every racist thing, every perverted thing, Trish on her knees barking like a dog. We don't get all of that and then
Dog.
wrap it up
Not the
with the
barking.
news. Yeah, like I feel like if you do it, it's going to be very, very embarrassing. But do I think he
Mhm.
deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, I mean, that man is the reason why we have what we have, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I hate him as much as everyone else hates him for all the wrong that he's done, but it's like a love-hate relationship with Vince because it's just
Mhm.
like this is a sport that I adore. I adore so much that I'm sitting behind a camera talking about it for
Right.
damn near 2 hours, you know, like at least once a week cuz I love it. You know, I love it. So thank you Vince, you know. He deserves to you know, have light shed on the positive things that he's done, but I think it's just far too soon. Far, far, far too soon. I think that he's gonna get side-eyed. A lot of people are going to judge him, because it's it would have been like a year, just about,
Yeah.
or like 10 months, just about, without Vince, and I think that that's too fresh in our minds. I think we need to
Mhm.
see Hunter take over. Everyone ride off the high of what Hunter's doing for wrestling, and while everyone's just enjoying and like living in the moment, then bring him back because then we'll
Right.
have like an inkling of like, all right, I kind of miss this little old man, you know? Like last time we saw him on screen, he took a bump from Stone Cold and folded awkwardly like a lawn chair. You know
Right.
what I mean? And then you could reference stuff like that. It's gonna get a pop out of us because it's just gonna make us think, oh yeah, like he's a bit of an asshole, but you know what? He gave us a moment like that at 70 something years old.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I just too soon, man. Too soon. What do you think?
I agree with you on the fact that it's too soon. Obviously, Vince not only deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, he is the Hall of Fame. Like, I feel like Vince is the bar when it comes to executives in wrestling and masterminds in wrestling. He created some of the greatest characters of all time. So there, it's no denying his contributions to the WWE, the company he was the CEO of and created. Um, However, in addition to all the allegations and stuff that he's been getting, I just don't think that like a Mania Hall of Fame induction in LA makes sense. I feel like if he were to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, they should wait until they come back to New York because New York City is very much considered the home of WWE. It's an hour and a half away from Stamford. If they do it at the Garden, that's essentially like their home territory. When you think of wrestling in the Garden, you think of WWE. It's the home of the first WrestleMania, the 10th WrestleMania, the 20th WrestleMania. Like the Garden has been the home to so many iconic pro wrestling moments because of WWE, which is because of Vince McMahon. And so I think that if they were to induct Vince McMahon into the Hall of Fame, they shouldn't do it so soon, and they should wait until they come back to New York. Just come back to New York and do a Hall of Fame induction. And I feel like if they were to do it, he deserves the whole ceremony. Like it's Vince, and that's it. That's all who
Mhm.
gets inducted. He's in a class of all his own. Um, so that's what I think
I
about
can't wait to hear Undertaker's speech.
that's it. Do you think Taker's going to induct him, or do you think Stone Cold is going to induct him?
I just feel like, yeah, I feel like Taker. I'm gonna have to go with Taker. Like that's literally his son.
Yeah.
Like what? There's no other person I feel like would feel more right than Taker. I would feel actually a little bitter if it was Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
Just because this they have such a special relationship that I don't think anyone else could understand when it comes to Vince and Taker, that I just feel like if anyone else just did, it just wouldn't do him justice. Because there's a
Mm.
reason why old behind Undertaker kept coming back and putting his poor hip and his brain
That
on the line and taking concussions and coming back to flying out to Saudi Arabia. Like you had to really love this old man.
a fact.
Okay,
That's a
he
fact.
needs to abduct him.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that as far as like Taker inducting him because I feel like Stone Cold was a great foil for Vince McMahon, but Vince McMahon literally created The Undertaker. That's his, as far as characters are
Yes.
concerned, that's his baby. Like that's The Undertaker is a creation of Vince McMahon. So I think that there's no one more appropriate to induct Vince McMahon than The Undertaker. But speaking of mysterious characters, we have been seeing some mysterious stuff going on in WWE. And that mysterious thing is that WWE has been teasing this White Rabbit graphic. And they've put a date on it. Ironically, it is September 23rd. They've been showing stuff during the shows, playing certain songs. Lights have been flickering for superstars like Alexa Bliss. So my question to you is, what could this mean? Who do you think is going to make their return to WWE or make a debut for WWE, if you will?
I've been gunning for Bray Wyatt to come back. There's been subtle things. I mean, even from months ago, that fans even got in screen grabs that just they're hidden in the back, and you had to just find it. And they're things that remind you of Bray Wyatt. And even with Alexa Bliss's character, she hasn't fully let go of her, um, not hurt heel. I think she has like play in pain or something like that on her hand and stuff like that. They haven't fully let go of the Fiend. I'm not saying that the Fiend is coming back, but I do feel like Bray Wyatt is going to come back reincarnated into a different character. Is what
Mm,
I'm getting at all this,
mm,
and I don't see why you wouldn't want to have him come back. I mean, like that you need some. You I feel like the one thing that is messing out of wrestling right now, considering the Undertaker is done and everything, is bringing back someone that's a little bit mythical and mysterious for us to work with. And I feel like if they would bring Bray Wyatt back and they let him do everything exactly how he wants to, underneath his complete control. We know how Hunter is and his relationship with Bray Wyatt from before. If they just let him take it and run wild, we're gonna have a lot of Mania moments. Like, I know at this coming WrestleMania, if he comes back now and they build his character as is, it's like it's gonna be crazy. It's
mm.
gonna be crazy. So I feel like it has to be Bray Wyatt. I don't think that we need a new talent. It can't be anyone from NXT because it just doesn't really
Yeah.
make any sense. I don't really want to see a new male signing at the moment. I just want to see the people who are really good, who are injured, to get their asses back on screen as soon as possible. But Bray, that's the one return I need, that wrestling
Hmm.
needs, and that he deserves, because he went out and he went out in such a criminal way. And I just feel like I don't need to see him in another company. I do not want to see Tony Khan snatch him up. He will not know what to do with him because he already effed up with Aleister Black. Although, wait, I just thought about it. Aleister Black would make sense too. But he's not coming back. It can't be him. Can't be him.
Yeah.
But
Can't be him.
yeah, he might come back. He might come back. I think it has to be Bray.
Mm.
Has to be Bray, and they have to let him just come back the way where he wants to come back. Like it has to be this way. It has to. What do you think?
I agree with you. On wrestling Twitter, there have been a lot of references to old interviews that he did with Michael Cole, talking about the White Rabbit. Like, who killed the White Rabbit? Like, you killed the White Rabbit. And I think it's supposed to be symbolic for something. Also, in like some Extreme Rules graphics that they've been teasing, there have been like lanterns in the background of some of those graphics. So all signs are pointing towards a Bray Wyatt return. Um, and so, if that's the case, I'm very, very excited for it. Like you said, I think that Bray just needs to return the way that he wants to return, because he is literally, when we talk about from a talent standpoint, easily one of the most creative minds in pro wrestling in the past 15 to 20 years. All of his characters, all of his reincarnations of characters, have all been, I think, in a way iconic, right? As far as the quality of his characters, I just feel like he's never been in an environment where he can completely thrive and be himself. And I think that under Hunter, he's going to be able to experience that reign. I think that Bray's going to come back. It's going to be, like you said, another reincarnation of like an old character, or like a new character, or another layer, I should say. Um, and I'm very much like looking forward to it, because God, Bray is, and like you said, I don't want Tony Khan to snatch him up either. Like, I think that Bray is one of those talents. When we talked about, like, remember when we talked about like a couple shows ago, like there's certain talents that have that WWE polish on them. Bray is one of those guys, to the point where
Yeah.
they have such a polish and such a quality to them that if you put them anywhere else, they would just look out of place. And so I think that Bray only belongs in WWE, and I want to see him on a WWE screen. But speaking of Triple H, uh, Triple H announced earlier this week that WWE will be bringing back War Games, the War Games match for this year's Survivor Series. It has been officially branded as Survivor Series War Games. Also, he's also bringing back the Fight Pit, which is a match that was done in NXT between Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher, I believe it was. And he's also bringing that back as well for Survivor Series. So, for those of you who are not aware, War Games is a 4-on-4, two cage, two ring match that was debuted during the WCW NWA era, and it was revitalized and used heavily during NXT. It was closely associated with the Undisputed Era, Johnny Gargano and Kevin Owens, as well as many, many others. But with Survivor Series War Games on the horizon, I want to know, number one, how you feel about this match returning. And number two, if you had to pick your men's and women's teams for Survivor Series War Games, who would you pick? Starting with the men's match and then getting to the women's match.
I definitely want to jack yours. So I think you should just say it because like there's no the team you chose, bro. There's no topping Jordan's team for both the men and the women. Like it makes way too much sense. So honestly, you tell them
But at first, I want to know how you feel about War Games returning before anything.
how I feel about it. Honestly,
Yes.
it should never have left. We only got what three or four war games. I think it was three, right?
I think it was.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was three. Yeah, it was three. Three War Games matches.
Like, why did you take that away? It was to me like my favorite NXT pay per view of the entire year. It was
Mm-hmm.
fun, it was chaotic, and there's so many ways you could paint this story because I mean, people come into the cage one by one. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that whole turn with Dakota Kai, like that iconic. You know,
Iconic. Yeah.
how they use war games to elevate Rhea Ripley.
Oh yeah.
You know, Bianca too in that same cage, but how they elevated Rhea Ripley off of just war games alone, just freaking amazing. The matches that freaking Undisputed Era had in there, like I'm so pissed off that they left and this is coming back
Right.
because like the matches they could have had on the main roster would have been insane, insane. But I don't want to say what my teams are because I'm piggybacking off of you. So you tell them how you feel in your teams.
All right, so boom. I'm gonna start with how I feel. Number one, I know Adam Cole is punching air right now. Because this is their match. The Undisputed Era, like the War Games, is the match of the Undisputed Era. This is the match that made them. This is the match that put them on the map. That said we are a legit faction. It put them on the road to championships. It led them to legitimacy in WWE. And I think that it would have been great to see them in this match. Like you said, War Games has elevated so many superstars between Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, setting up the Dakota Kai Tegan Knox feud and her heel turn. Um, I think that Shayna Baszler, like it elevated her as well. Like there's so many superstars who went into that
Yeah.
match and into that event and they elevated. Now the one thing that I will say is that I purposely feel like WWE got rid of William Regal so that if Hunter were to bring this back, he wouldn't be able to be present for it because I really just need William Regal to say War Games. That's all I need. I
Right?
need
Oh
William
my
Regal to
god.
say War Games.
Or
Um,
his son.
Exactly. Some Regal affiliate needs to say War Games. Now as far as my ideal teams, I'm gonna start off with the men. I was about to say niggas. I'm gonna start off with the men. Um, I think that it should be a 4-on-4 with the bloodline configuration of Roman Reigns, the Usos,
Yes.
and Solo Sikoa versus Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. My reasoning for that: number one, if it's a War Games match, no titles are defended. But because it's a War Games match, it's still important. It has implications. Kevin Owens has expressed that he wants championship gold. Sami Zayn has been in this really, really weird limbo period with the bloodline in the sense of like Jay liking him or Jay not liking him and everybody else liking him, and I smell a turn coming soon. So I essentially see Kevin Owens linking back up with Sami Zayn. I see Johnny Gargano being a part of that match because I feel like he's a debuting superstar and you need to put him in an environment where you know he can succeed so that you can make him a star on the main roster. I believe that War Games is the perfect place to do it. Plus, we've been seeing Gargano and Kevin Owens a lot lately as well, together in segments, matches, all of that. So I just think that that configuration makes sense. And then Tommaso Ciampa because I think that Champa or Miz is gonna. I feel like Miz is gonna turn on Champa, and that's just gonna lead to him, being in a spot where he links back up with Johnny. Because like, why not? Especially for War Games. So that is my men's teams. My women's teams. My first women's team would consist of Damage Control, and Jesus, I said Charlotte, but I think I changed the
Becky.
yes. So I think
You
actually
said
no no
Becky.
no. I think it was Damage Control and Charlotte, right? So Bailey, Charlotte,
Yeah.
Dakota, and Io versus the Holy Trinity of Bianca, Naomi, and Sasha, and Becky coming back to join that team. So, and here's my rationale for that. So, because at first I thought it was going to be Becky joining Damage Control, but here's what I realized: Becky got written off screen because Damage Control attacked her. So why would she join a team with Damage Control unless she wanted to eventually do some crazy turn, which I don't think is going to happen. I think that Becky being attacked was the death of big time Bex and the return of the man. I think that that version of Becky is going to come back, especially under Hunter. So I think that we're going to get Charlotte because why not, right? Charlotte and Damage Control. And then we're going to get Bianca. I think that Becky's going to join her side because she wants her lick back on Damage Control. I think that leading up to War Games, there's going to be periods of time where like they're outnumbered. How can the two of you beat the four of us? We're here and you're not. And na 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 na. And then who returns? Sasha Banks and Naomi. And I feel like that's the perfect way to bring Sasha and Naomi back. It puts them in a match with the most important people in the women's division. Bianca is the Raw Women's Champion. Bailey is the leader of the most dominant faction. Charlotte is Charlotte. It puts them in an
Charlotte.
environment where
Charlotte.
they right, Charlotte is Charlotte. And they're gonna be alongside Becky. So I think that I feel like if you want to position them, one, to get the tag team titles back, that's a good way to kind of introduce them back into that scene. And if they win, it's like, well, we have a win over Damage Control and Charlotte. So they can flip that and be like, we want to go after the Raw Women's title, or they can flip that and be like, we want to go after the tag team titles and get our belts back. Either way, I feel like these teams just make sense. They allow for the most creative flexibility. What were you gonna say?
I, I want to switch Charlotte for Shayna.
Mmm.
Yeah.
I
That
like
would
that
be
actually.
nasty.
I like
That would
that.
be nasty.
That would be
Because she
nasty.
was
That would
there
be
for the
nasty.
first one, I believe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the first women's War Games match she was a part of. So I
Yeah, but I
like
think her
that.
chemistry with Damage Control just makes sense because they already know each other. And I mean, she already has like this cocky bully character. I mean, I think that would actually go perfect with Bailey. I could see Bailey and Shayna just having a good interaction. And they're already familiar with each other from Survivor Series in 2019, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
29.
late
It was
2019 they had a Survivor
the
Series
three
match.
brand Survivor Series when it was NXT, SmackDown, and Raw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool to reference. I'm just saying.
I
Just
like
saying.
it. I like it. See,
Yeah.
see, I knew you were gonna have good teams, even though you didn't want to say it. That was that. I didn't even think about Shayna, and that was. That was important. That was
It came to me, bro, when you said that she like War Games birth, like, people like not birth Shayna. Shayna was already popping by then, but it let Shayna shine. And I'm like, wait, yeah, why isn't she there? Because she has some of the dopest cage matches. Like, there's like a cage match that is really underrated between her and Io.
mm-hmm,
That came to my mind immediately. It was a steel cage match on NXT that no
on
one talks
NXT.
about for some weird reason, but it's like my favorite Shayna match. I was just like, you know what? Shayna would probably go ham in a War Games match paired with Io on her side and Bailey and all of
Mm-hmm.
them. Like, it'd be pretty awesome considering right now she's um I think she's is she still fighting with Liv? I didn't watch this week. I'm
Who?
sorry. Is she still arguing with Liv? Is she still
Shane.
arguing with
I don't
Liv?
know if
Because
Shayna
if they
is, but
abandon that,
I think I don't know if Shayna and Liv are still a thing, but I think that Bailey is being positioned to possibly get the SmackDown Women's title. But we'll see with that.
yeah. So I'm
We
just
will see
saying
with
she
that.
ain't doing that and put her with them.
Put her with them. Yeah, that's a fact.
Like, hey, like they could recruit her because of the fact that, like, yo, we know you're a legitimate fighter and that you have a lot
Right.
to bring to the table. I fought you in a Survivor Series match. Io done took you on. I'm pretty sure, yeah, she has had beef with Dakota before. I think they could like take her in,
Right.
and make her part of the faction and like try to get her gold, and they could be like their own undisputed era team
That would be
with the
tough.
females.
And especially because the whole
I wish
like
they had a mid card title.
ooh, a WWE
Sorry.
Women's mid card title. No, no, no. I was saying that number one
Yeah,
mid
they
card
had
title would
that.
be fire. But I was just saying, do you
Yeah.
think that they would try to put her in a faction? Uh, Jesus, why is my brain farting? Oh yeah. Do you think that they would put her in a faction, considering that like her and Rhonda have this weird dynamic, and like there may be a point in time where Rhonda and Shayna link up? Yeah,
But what
right.
if they
I
end up
was.
in War Games? How would that work?
What if? Right. What if? All right.
Where are you going with this?
I'm trying to think.
Where are you going with this? Don't tell me Ronda's gonna go in the cage.
I'm trying to think.
I bet not see Ronda in the fucking cage.
I don't think that Ronda's going to be in the cage. I just think that the
Okay.
4-on-4 is going to stand. If what if at Survivor Series War Games we got the original four, like the one that I originally proposed with Charlotte and Damage Control versus the other four, but we got Shayna versus Ronda. For I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitting out
That's
stuff.
a Mania match.
It is very much a
That's a
Mania
Mania
match.
match.
That is very much a
And
Mania
it has
match. But
stipulations too, because they know how to take a hit.
right. But I feel
You know.
like it would be I feel like I don't know, like it's just weird because I don't know if Ronda's a heel or a face right now. And it's very hard to gauge. Especially after that promo that Adam Pierce cut on Ronda. Because at first I was like, I don't know if you've seen it. I'll send it to you. But anyway, I don't
Called
know.
her a bitch or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what I remember.
That man was spitting. Oh my god. But I think that that concludes our show for the week. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Um, yeah, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on TikTok. If you're listening to this anywhere podcast or stream, be sure to rate us 5 stars and subscribe to us on there or follow us on there as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. That was a banger.